Hello, friends. How are y'all? I'm gonna give people a moment to jump on and join me. I'm so excited about everything right now. There's so many cool things happening in the world. It's pretty amazing. Even, I have to say, one of the things that I've embraced a lot over the past year, definitely over the past year and beyond, is really enjoying the heck out of feeling uncomfortable. Hey, Parisa, thanks for being here. And that is making things just so wonderfully different. Because, I know for me, like when I am comfortable, when I'm not uncomfortable, things get kind of boring. And the cool thing is like the more that I've embraced being uncomfortable, the less I would even call it discomfort. The more I would just call it like things are changing, things are opening up. So anyway, that's my little preview while I was giving people time to jump on with me. I wanted to talk about creation, which actually discomfort is totally part of that. And oh, that's cool. Parisa says that's been something I've started to play with and I'm starting to enjoy the generative space of it. Yeah. Well, one of the things about being uncomfortable is that a lot of times it shows up when we, there's just new energies showing up in our lives and there's new spaces and we're being different in the world and we don't quite know like how to be with people and people don't quite know how to receive us. And so it's part of it is it's like an indication that there's new energies arising. And we're being with them in a different way, so to me, it's like such good news because I don't remember exactly what the quote is, but I'm just going to make my own quote right now, that comfort is the enemy of creation. It's something like that, but I don't know if it's exactly that, but now it is. Now you can just quote me. Comfort is the enemy of creation. And when we're comfortable, we don't tend to create. I don't know, for a lot of humanoids, it's like we're not really motivated to create beyond our comfort zone, until you get bored, which people always end up doing, getting bored. And humanoids at least tend to get quite bored. People who are seekers, when I say humanoids, I mean like, the crazy creative people of the world that are seeking something different. That's one of the things that really, I know for me, like inspires me to always look for more and greater, is when I'm like, oh man, this is kind of boring, and boredom is one of those things that has arisen more and more and more for me. And I realize that like to not be bored, I have to really stay ahead of things. I have to stay ahead of myself in a way. Not by not being present, but just like stay ahead of where I think I need to be with what I'm asking for and what I'm choosing and what I'm creating. And the cool thing is right now is that there's so much available. Like there's just been so much change this year in 2022. And even in the past few weeks and months, I know for me, there's been an enormous amount of change in my own life and my own space and being and all that kind of stuff. And I think, for a lot of other people too. And this is partly why I started with the thing about discomfort, because, things can be really amazing and uncomfortable at the same time. And you might be more on the discomfort end of the spectrum, noticing things changing in the world, things falling apart, there's a lot that's falling apart right now in like this reality, like the world as we've known it, which to me is an indication that something very dynamic is occurring. There's so much that never worked. that is falling apart as we speak. And now, there's a new space. And you have to have the falling apart in order to have the new creative possibilities. So there's something there that's very exciting, and this is where you have to really go to what is it that like what are you aware of, and what is it that that you can be present with and stay present with. And the thing about creation is, so this question, what would you like to create, is what I called this video. And one of the things about creation is there's so many things, but you can't create from a lie. So if your starting point with what it is that you would like to create, whether it's your business, your life, your relationships as a parent, your family, with your body, whatever it may be, if your starting point is something that's not true for you, but something that maybe like you think you're supposed to desire, you won't ultimately create it. And that's actually a great thing. But it's also one of those things that sometimes it takes, sometimes it takes us really being willing to look at things to have a sense of what is it that we would actually like to create that is true for us. And one of the things we avoid creating, asking for, going for, whatever you want to call it, interestingly enough, are the things that are really fun for us. I don't know why. I think it's just because we've been so entrained to to just like do things the hard way, like the rest of the world thinks they're supposed to be done. But that's the reality that's falling apart now, right? And yet when you do things the easy way, which is, what you would like to create, what's fun for you, what's enjoyable for you, like all of that, when you do things that way, there's a lot of you have so much more energy available to you because you're being you, and you're actually truly aligned with what it is that you're asking for. Like it actually is true for you. And so what would you like to create, I would say, is a great question to be asking yourself. What would I like to create? Truly, like what would actually be really fun for you? What would actually be really enjoyable as a life, in all the different areas of life: business, relationships, family, body, monetary reality, all the major areas, and with sex, with, whatever it is that you've got going on that you'd like to have more of, or something totally different, but all those areas that are important areas in your life, and start to really ask about, what, like, okay, so what would I like to have? What I actually like to have in these areas? And you get yourself into a place where you start to perceive more of what that is actually true, what is actually true for you with that. And then your starting point or your continuation point, with what you're creating actually has a lot of like depth and breadth to it, and there's energy there that allows you that will just unfurl and and move with creation, because you're actually starting from a place that's true for you. You're not fighting what's actually true for you from the beginning and from the get-go. And so your being won't like sabotage what it is that you're creating, because you actually desire it, And I would say the biggest thing with that is to actually choose what's fun. What's fun for you, what's pleasurable for you. I have this conversation that I've been having over many years, called I call it creation of living. To me, this is a lot of what creation of living is about, is this space of creation that is like about hedonism and beauty and pleasure, and it includes the body and everything that we create. And it allows you to, like, it's about really seeking pleasure, like true pleasure, not distraction. I wouldn't call that pleasure, I'd call it distraction. Seeking true hedonistic pleasure. in your life and including your body in that with everything that you create. And so you can include that, like the pleasure of creation with your business, the pleasure of creation with money, the pleasure of creation with your body, with, you know, all those different areas of life, with sex, with relationships, with family, parenting, whatever it may be. And when you include your body and you allow your body to like inform, hey Shika, when you allow like the pleasure of living and the pleasure of your body and the pleasure of creation to inform what it is that you are choosing, you know, what you're doing in the world and what you're creating, it it contributes to what you're creating so dynamically, and it makes it easier, and it makes it more joyful, and it makes it actually work more, you know, work better. And there's a lot less work that you have to do to actualize things. And so, and one of the things that's so available right now is, I mean, this is the funny thing is that we've had to like undo so much of what we've bought to be real and true about creation and about living and about like hedonistic living and pleasurable living, and because, you know, in this reality, all of that is so bad. Like hedonism is it's actually a bad word, you know. Oh, there's such a hedonist, you know. And I'm like, yeah, I am definitely a hedonist. I have no qualms about that. I'm just getting started. But there's also so many points of view about how creation occurs, you know, and how you have to do it, and, you know, what it entails and all these things. And the thing is that there's all these lies that we tell ourselves about, like, I have to do this and I have to do that, and it has to be like this. And the marketing has, you know, if it's a business thing, it's like, well, there has to be marketing that's like this. And, you know, so there's all these different energies of like, what is like the conclusions and the points of view and the computations that we have about what's required to create something. And none of that is about what you know. You know, that's just all about the lies of this reality that are like, you have to do this, you have to do that. These are the rules and regulations and linearity of everything. But as a humanoid, a seeker, you know, somebody who plays with different possibilities, you know, something very different than that. And that's part of getting to that thing of what's true for you. And so, and there's the beauty of it is that there's so much space opening up around all of this right now in the world, that there's so much more available now for us to relax into and actually like embrace and embody, and with how we create and what we create. It's amazing. It's really amazing what's available. And so you have to jump tracks and allow yourself to have that different space of creation. Because if you're creating from reference points and you're creating from what you thought was real and true previously, it's just not going to work. It's going to work a lot less dynamically than it could, you know? And so what about the magic? What about magic and pleasure and beauty and luxury and like really, because I know when I'm like, I need to do this because of this, or I need to do that because I need to do like this with my business because I need this kind of money, or I need to do this because I need this result with my children or with my body or whatever, is so boring. And I don't end up actually creating it because it's just way too boring. And so part of what I've been doing is like really looking at what I'm asking for and turning it way up. And including that, like, okay, what if I was actually really, really, really asking, like asking for what I truly desire and choosing that and choosing to create it, what would it actually be? Like if anything were possible. And then it's like, okay, so what are the resources that I have for creating that? Well, I have what I know. And that is, again, one of your greatest assets. And the magic of energy, of the universe, of like the energetics of creation, because so much of creation, way more than we think, and then even way more than you think, and then even way more, is about the energy behind all of it. We could, there's so many conversations we could have about that. And I would say, that's been a huge part of my life for the past 12 years since finding the tools of access consciousness, is just like all these different nuances of the energetics of creation, which is such an exciting conversation for me. I love playing with that. Because there's so much about like what we're willing to be and how much we're willing to receive and how we show up in the world. And that has such a huge influence on what actually shows up in our lives. It's almost like they're different currencies, the resources you're talking about. Yeah. It's like, it's a different universe of creation that isn't the lies and the linearities of this reality. And so this month I'm diving into a whole bunch of creative and generative play with all of this. Starting on the 12th of December, I think it is, in like 5 days, we're doing, I'm going to do like an energy pull, energetic exercise series called Engaging the Elementals. I love energetic exercises. It's going to be a daily Facebook Live in a private group, and really playing with the energetics of creation. Because when we expand how we create energetically and what we're being, we expand our receiving, and what shows up it is miraculous. And this particular series is called Engaging the Elementals, and the elementals are the energetic building blocks of creation, that when you actually engage with these energies, gratitude is one of them, for example. When you engage with those energies, it is incredible what begins to show up from it. So much elegance and ease and effortlessness. And you really begin to have this miraculous space with creation. So we're going to just turn it way up. And then at the end of the month, every December, except for last year, I wasn't able to do it. But for, I don't even know, maybe 8 years, 9 years, something like that, I've been doing this 5 days of creation, where in between Christmas and New Year's, we do a Zoom call every day. So it's more interactive. A Zoom call every day, 5 days in a row, December 27th through whatever 5 days later is. I always do the math wrong. And we have a Zoom call and we play with creation, because I'm not a big fan of like going to sleep and taking a long winter's nap in December. I like to keep creating. And I was bored, and I was like, this was years ago when I created it. And I'm like, how about we do this between Christmas and New Year's, because it's just fun. Like, I don't want to sit around and lay on the couch and watch football for a week. That's in the US, that's what we do basically. I want to actually create and like launch myself into the new year, in a totally different space. So I just invited people who were interested in that. And it's been a favorite of people over the years. I'm so happy to be doing it again. Last year, I was doing some family stuff that had me offline for a few days, and I wasn't able to do it. But so here we are again, 2022, 5 days of creation. And the topic of that is actually going to be the creation of living. So really creating from this, juicy, hedonistic, yummy, pleasurable space that includes the body. And we'll delve into, business and money and body and relationships and sex and family and stuff like that, all the different areas of life. And, what we'd like to create, really setting ourselves up for a freaking dynamically wonderful, explosive, expansive, magical, miraculous 2023. So I'm excited. It is a great month already. It's going to be great. And we have also at the very end of that, a 3-day body class at the Castello di Casalborgone in Italy. So if you want to come to Italy, there's that too. There's the New Year's masquerade ball the night before. So it's going to be pretty epic. and you're invited. It's all on my website, heathernichols.com. And I just really, as things change so fast every day in our world, there's just so much. I don't think that link is correct, Priest. I think it's Castlebody, heathernichols.com/Castlebody. That might work too. I don't know. But anyway, there's so much, but thank you for posting the links. There's so much miraculousness available, and it really requires presence with how we create, because you've got to, they both work. Cool. Thank you. Because if you are creating from how you used to create before, and maybe you didn't even think about how you created, I mean, this might be a totally new conversation for you, but if it is, or if it isn't, either way, every day things change so dramatically, where literally more magic becomes available every single day, with the explosion of consciousness that's going on in the world, that any reference points that you have of like how things show up or how they used to show up or what creation is, you have to let go of it, because you'll be creating from something that is an outdated kind of like operating system, and when you look from a fresh perspective every day, it gives you the sense of like what is actually available to you today, now, that wasn't available yesterday, last week, last month, last year. Because every day there's more resources and magic and all of that becoming available to us. So the more you look with fresh eyes and get rid of those reference points and engage with what is right now from your awareness and your being, you give yourself access to universes of possibility and creation. And that is, I mean, what a gift, I mean, it's like, but you got to be present. You got to be present and be in question and be in choice and be willing to receive the possibilities and the contribution that is showing up. Because otherwise you'll miss. It's like using a computer from, like 10 years ago, thinking that you've got the latest and greatest when, oh, by the way, there's been like advance after advance after advance after advance with technology in the past in 10 years, and it's a completely different universe. It's like that. And so, but not a computer. It's real. It's way more real than computers. It's about the acoustical wavelength of you, the being, consciousness, the earth, the miraculousness of creation and what's available. And it's freaking exciting. So come and play. Let's create. It's our time. It's our world. Time to have way more fun than ever before. Way more pleasure, way more beauty, contribution, gifting and receiving. I'm so excited and I just can't hide it. So hope to see ya somewhere in the world. In person would be amazing. Or, online as well soon. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for being here with me. Have a good one.